Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. We are going to start a new chapter, Body Fluids and Circulation, Human Physiology, Class 11. In Body Fluids and Circulation, we are talking about the transportation system which you learn in Class 10. Here we are going little more in detail about the system. We have two circulatory systems in our body. That is, one is the fluid called blood and the other fluid is lymph. There are so many cells in our body. All these cells need nutrients. So from the intestine, nutrients should reach each and every cell. The same way, the oxygen from the lungs should reach the cell. And cells have lot of waste to be excreted out and also carbon dioxide to be eliminated. So there should be a fluid for carrying all this. So this connective tissue is nothing but our blood. Coming to the composition of blood. Blood is a connective tissue. So you know any connective tissue has got a matrix and the cells in it. The matrix here is a fluid matrix and that is called a plasma. So 55% of the blood is plasma. Then the rest of 45% are formed elements. Formed elements means the blood cells. Now when we come to the composition of plasma, plasma has 90 to 92% water. Rest almost 6 to 8% of plasma is proteins. The proteins can be mainly of three types: albumin, globulin and fibrinogen. Albumins are helping in maintaining the osmotic potential, whereas globulins help in immunity. Our antibodies are immunoglobulins. Then the fibrinogen, they help in blood clotting. So three proteins in our blood and their functions are very important. Now coming to other electrolytes or the ions in our body, we have calcium ions, magnesium ions, bicarbonate ions, chloride ions. Apart from that, the nutrients like glucose and amino acids, lipids, etc. are also present in the plasma. Now, plasma without clotting factor is called a serum. This can ask for 1 mark. What is serum? Plasma without clotting factor. So you understood, plasma has water, three main proteins, some electrolytes, nutrients, and without clotting factor, plasma is called a serum. What is the color of plasma? It is a straw color fluid. Now what gives the blood red color if the plasma is yellow in color? It is nothing but our RBC, which contains a pigment called a hemoglobin. So now let's see the formed elements of blood or the blood cells in our blood. There are three major blood cells in our blood. They are erythrocytes. Erythro means red. So they are the red blood cells, or we call them as red blood corpuscles. Erythrocytes are otherwise called a RBC. Leukocytes are the colorless blood cells which lack hemoglobin pigment. They are otherwise called a white blood corpuscles or white blood cells. And the third type of cells are thrombocytes, or they are otherwise called a platelets. They are actually not entire complete cell, they are worn out cells. Then the quantity, if you see, the most abundant blood cell in our blood is erythrocytes. Erythrocytes are forming almost 5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter of blood. But when it comes to the WBC, it is almost 8,000 to 10,000 per cubic millimeter of blood. During infection, their rate may increase. Thrombocytes form almost 1.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs per cubic millimeter of blood. Then erythrocytes are formed in our bone marrow. And this process of formation of erythrocytes or RBC is called a erythropoiesis. After the lifespan, do you know what is the lifespan of RBC? It is 120 days, that is approximately 4 months. After that, they are destroyed in our organ called a spleen. So we can call spleen as the graveyard of RBC. Actually, in embryonic stage, RBCs are formed in the spleen, but when we are becoming mature, the RBCs are formed in the bone marrow. So formation is in the bone marrow and the graveyard is the spleen, and the lifespan is 120 days. The shape of the RBC is biconcave shape. Why? Because it has to have lot of hemoglobin to carry oxygen. So biconcave shape will give more surface area compared to spherical structure. and they lack nuclei. That is, mammalian RBCs lack nuclei. RBC has a red pigment called a hemoglobin. The normal range of hemoglobin in human beings is 12 to 16 millimeter per 100 gram of blood. But for men it may be from 14 to 16. For females usually it is from 12 to 14. If it is less than that, that is 10, 9 and all, we say anemic. 7 if it is, it's severe anemia. So these are the details about the erythrocytes. Now coming to the leukocytes or the WBC. WBC or leukocytes are colorless. Why? Because they don't have hemoglobin in them. And the WBC can be classified into two types mainly, granulocytes and agranulocytes. The granulocytes are again classified into three, neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils. Whereas agranulocytes are monocytes and lymphocytes. WBC cells have prominent nucleus and these nuclei are mainly lobed structures. So when we come to the granulocytes, we have three granulocytes, which are the neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils. When we talk about the types of WBC or leukocytes, I told they are colorless because they don't have hemoglobin but they have nucleus. WBC mainly classified into agranulocytes and granulocytes. Granulocytes, again three types are there, neutrophils, basophils and eosinophils. The most abundant white blood cells is neutrophils, which constitute 60 to 65% of the leukocytes, and they have a multi-lobed nucleus present in them. They are mainly concerned with the phagocytic response. Phagocytosis means you have learned about endocytosis in amoeba. When a food particle comes near amoeba, it will engulf it. Amoeba can engulf its food materials by extending its pseudopodia. The same way, these neutrophils will be there in the blood. As soon as they come across some foreign particles or bacteria or other cells, harmful particles, they will engulf them. This process is called phagocytosis. Now, second is basophils. Basophils are the least. They are only 0 to 1% only present in our blood, and they have tri-lobed nucleus, means three lobes are there for the nucleus. They secrete heparin, serotonin, histamine, which are involved in inflammatory responses. Then the third category is eosinophils. Eosinophils constitute 2 to 3% of the WBC cells, and they are associated with the allergic response. Those people having asthma, hay fever, those people will have high level of eosinophils in their blood. Their nucleus is bilobe, means it has two lobes. It looks like a headset. Then agranulocytes means they do not have granules in them, but they are large in size and they have large nucleus also. Nucleus is usually large and round. The monocytes are the first type of agranulocytes. They constitute 2 to 10% and their nucleus is bean shaped. And monocytes are also phagocytic like our neutrophils. When there are burn out parts of the cells or the foreign particles or germ cells, they will phagocyte them. And they are the largest among the WBC cells. So the most abundant is neutrophils, the least is basophil, and the largest is monocyte. Then the next is lymphocytes. Lymphocytes constitute 20 to 25% and they have a large round nucleus. Lymphocytes are helpful in immune response. Basically, they produce the antibodies. You know, any infectious agents or the foreign particles coming to our body are called antigens. So the antigens full form is antibody generating. So against that, our body produces antibody. So those antibodies are produced by the lymphocyte cells. They are of two types, B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. B lymphocytes usually produce the antibodies, whereas T lymphocytes are helping the B lymphocyte to make the antibody. So both of them are involved in immune response. The white blood cells are short-lived. When we come to thrombocytes or the platelets, they are cell fragments formed from megakaryocytes present in the bone marrow. They are actually very smaller in size compared to our erythrocytes or the leukocytes. These thrombocytes can be spherical, oval or disc-shaped structures. Their lifespan is very short. they live only up to 1 week. During the time of blood clotting, they release a lot of factors which are essential for the clotting of blood. But if their number is less in the body, then that can lead to clotting disorders. Hope you understood all these concepts well. If so, please like, share and subscribe to my channel Biology My Passion. Thank you for watching.